You got to be very aware of that and have your eyes and your heart and your body open, right? Your heart open to feeling like, oh, all it is like, you need to do this. They're telling you what to do versus bringing you back to self and reminding you, does this feel good to you?
I've done what you're going through. I've gone through it already, and I'm going to catch you here. And now you're going to have to follow my guidance, and you're going to have to trust me 100% because I know what I'm doing and you have no idea what you're doing and you're scared.
I could love myself more. I felt more inner peace. I felt like, because it's like I came to you feeling like, oh, I have this icky feeling, and you just guided me back home to self. I'm like, well, why are you feeling that? That's because it's a lie. That's a lie.
One of the things that actually suffocates me is the whole entire idea of, oh, this is happening to you is because you never have boundaries.
Why do we do that? What is happening in the spiritual world? It was crazy. I really trusted this person, thinking that they knew much better than me. I had recently left my religion and was having a spiritual awakening, and I was feeling sad, lost, confused. And I came to discover that I had been duped again. And that is why this conversation is so important. It was extremely confusing and painful to be going through this again, but this time from a person I chose to trust, because they seemed to have it figured out and they were further along on their spiritual awakening. And because I trusted them, I was easily manipulated. So, Rain, why do we do that? What is happening in the spiritual world?
Well, Mel, it just feels like there's a lot of misinterpretation of spirituality. Basically, what seems to be happening in the spiritual world is it's kind of become an industry of some kind. Oh, that's why the word industry showed up before we get on this. So it seems like it's become, the spiritual world has become an industry, and an industry meaning that we are really diving back into the 3D dimension. We're just using a different language and we're presenting ourselves with that language, but we're following through with the 3D way of thinking. What is the 3D way of thinking? The 3D way of thinking meaning I am better than you, you are less than me. There's still in hierarchy. There's still like, it's a linear way. It's, oh, I have to learn this way or learn that way. So what is happening in the spiritual dimension now, in the spiritual world that we are experiencing, especially if you've had a spiritual awakening, is that once you, like you just explained, Mel, you left a religion, and whether you didn't leave a religion, you're still in your religion and you've had the spiritual awakening, which happens. There's no specific structure towards a spiritual awakening. It just happens. When it happens, it feels like your whole entire world has gone upside down. What you used to believe in disappears. Who you used to get along with just it kind of fades out of your life. People you used to have normal conversations with, it seems like you can't have these same conversations. Family members change, your job changes, like everything starts to shift and change. And in that department of shift and change, because you're awakening to a truth of some kind, you are waking up from the 3D, right? When we wake up from the 3D, what happens is now we have no solid ground to step on. We don't have anything to hold on to that feels familiar, that feels safe. So let's just go back. When we're in the 3D world, before we awaken, there's a structure, right? Whether the structure is great or it isn't, it's scary or it's fear-based or it's joy-based, it's irrelevant. There is a structure, and the structure says, if I do this, then this is the outcome. If I act this way, people like me. If I act this way, people don't like me. If I look this way, people like me. If I don't look this way, people like me. So there's a base and a structure that we have, and it feels safe. I go to a 9-to-5 job, I get this much paid. If I work on my own, the 3D says it's going to be efforting and hard, and you won't sleep at night. You'll be up all day. You'll ignore your family, especially if you have kids. Your kids won't matter until you. So there's a certain structure in the 3D. Now, what happens in the spiritual awakening is now you're waking up from that. You're seeing life through new eyes. Don't forget, the body still has the memory of the structure. We wake up from that. It's called a spiritual awakening because our spirit is coming online. Our spirit is waking up and being like, wait a minute, this is weird. Everything I'm seeing is weird. I'm not getting along with my life the way it used to be. Okay, but I don't know what to do. And so there's this time period of It is so scary because you're leaving one platform. What you want to do is jump into another platform. So it's like having, this is my 3D and there's structure here. I want to jump into another structure, okay? Because I'm scared of this void. So I want to jump into another structure, which is the spiritual awakening. I want to feel different, but I'm terrified because it's very, very lonely. Now, the spiritual world or the spiritual industry slotted itself here in the middle. Okay, so just imagine there's like something else that slotted itself in the middle. So there is this reality, 3D, and then there's the 4D reality. And right in the middle, this gap that everyone's terrified of, because then you don't know who, you can't be the person you were before, but you don't know who you're becoming. There's this slot here, and this is where the spiritual industry has come into. And in the spiritual industry, people will be catching you and helping you out in a pretend sense, in a sense of, wait, you're about to leave that world, you've woken up, you're terrified. In fear, what happens? We take the stupidest decisions because we are terrified, right? And it doesn't mean you are stupid. It just means the decisions we choose to take out of fear are pretty stupid. I've done that a million times. So there's nothing wrong with anyone doing that. We jump onto this platform. This platform says, here, I'll catch you. And you got to trust me. I've done what you're going through. I've gone through it already. And I'm going to catch you here. And now you're going to have to follow my guidance. And you're going to have to trust me 100% because I know what I'm doing. And you have no idea what you're doing. And you're scared. So this spiritual industry here, a lot of people in it, they might have been in years in the spiritual awakening. They may know so much. They may know nothing. They may be getting a huge like channeling and seeing guides, but they themselves, okay, are not using it for the good of mankind, but they're using it because their ego is still fully awake. They themselves still didn't leave the 3D. They didn't do that big jump. They didn't have the leap of faith. They will share stories with you and say, oh, I went to the desert for I don't know, 3 months on my own and I discovered this. They'll share these stories, right? And they'll make themselves look grandiose, but it isn't true. So what happens, Mel, is when you're on that platform, on that structure, that new structure, it's still a structure. What happens is they give you guidelines. This is how talking to your guides looks like. This is how spirituality is defined. These are the rituals you have to do. This is how you need to speak. And what happens is now they start to guilt and shame you for everything. And one of the things that actually suffocates me is the whole entire idea of, oh, all this is happening to you is because you never have boundaries, right? So there is shame and guilt and fear still in that industry because you haven't gone to the 4D yet, or the 5D, or whatever this new earth is, right? You're still stuck in the middle. So in this stuck in the middle state, you are susceptible to any manipulation of all kinds. Why? Because when you're in that space internally, any gaslighter, manipulator, narcissist, toxic person can walk in with ease and you'll delightfully give yourself to them. Why? Because you've put them on a pedestal, because they know better, because they've been doing this for 20 years. They've been doing it for 2 years. They've just woken up 3 weeks ago and now they have all this information. They get all these channelings, so they must know better than me. You give your power completely to somebody else, which is what the 3D is all about. In 3D, we give our power to money. We give our power to our partners, to our parents, to the governments, to whatever it is. We're constantly giving our power, right? So we're used to it. So the minute these industries come in, these spiritual industries, and they could be very famous names, people, trust me, a lot of them, very famous names, people that you hear about all the time, you've been hearing about for years. These people, they know how this works. And all they've done now is change the language. So the language is different, but the idea is the same. You still have fear. You're still trying to break through fear. You're feeling ashamed. You're feeling guilted. You're being asked to change who you are. You're being asked to put up boundaries. You're being asked to do certain ceremonies and certain things, right? To like beat that ego down. You're asked to go into shadow. You're asked to go into inner child. You're asked to You're asked to do a million things. So it's an entirely different world, except again, there are rules and regulations. You can only do this if you get rid of your inner child wounds. Oh, you can only do this if you defy your shadow. Oh, you can only do this if. There's always an if for you to get to divinity, for you to remember your divinity. That in itself is a very easy person to manipulate, gaslight. So we'll go back into the idea of, it's what, here I took notes, it's spiritual narcissism. And there's a ton of them. So I'm just going to stop here to see with Mel if there's anything to be asked in any direction so that I can move forward. Mel, darling.
Well, yeah. And I don't know if you were going to get to this, but I just wanted to know, so how do you know the difference? Because I've experienced this too. I love that we're talking about this, because I have found people in the same thing where I was very vulnerable and I was like, wow, this person, these people really seem to know what they're talking about. And I'm like they're trying to like push their ways kind of on me, or like, this is the way to do it. And then I started to feel off. But then there's been other people, like I've met you, that really feels true and that I can trust, and it's good information. I guess, how do you know the difference between these people, especially when you're fragile and you're vulnerable and you need support? Like when I needed support right then, I wasn't ready to be alone. What do those people do? How do they know who's safe to support them when they're going through this trying to figure themselves out in this process?
So I'm taking notes. So basically, it's such a marvelous question. Knowing the difference, of course, the most natural thing to say is, of course, your inner guidance is the thing that you're going to know. Now, that is really hard for you to figure out when you've left the 3D and the 3D world has told you do not trust your intuition, right? And now you're stepping into the void and people are being like, well, trust your intuition. You don't even know what that sounds like. You don't know what it feels like. You have no identity for it. It means nothing, because your mind, we've been programmed that our minds are in power, but not our intuition, right? So imagine you're leaving this world where only mind matters, achievements, blah, blah, blah. You have to think logically. And now you're stepping into this world where the logic doesn't make sense, but you don't know what intuition here feels like or sounds like in your own body. Now you're trying to see through everybody else. How are they touching base with it so I can figure out me? Now, how to know the difference? Definitely not through your intuition from the get-go, okay? Because that you're still learning to trust yourself. And that is a journey on its own. That's the main journey of spiritual awakening. How to trust yourself, how to trust divinity. And this goes on for the rest of your life. But the real way to figure out if you can actually give your power, which I never recommend to give your power, but it may happen. You may want to give your power away. You may want to lead to somebody because you're really confused, depressed, anxious, all the emotions that come with a spiritual awakening, and lonely. If you choose to give your power away, or you choose to listen to someone, or choose to absorb their information, the most important point to pay attention to is, does it feel familiar? Now, maybe that's even a little too high up on the thing, because you don't even know what familiar feels. Do I feel really comfortable around this person? Okay. Do I feel that, does it feel like my friends in the 3D? Does it feel like the world of my 3D? Right? Is it the same familiarity where I can still feel like, oh, they make me feel a little shitty about who I am? That's familiar. Do I feel guilty? That's familiar. Do I feel shame? That's familiar. There's like a familiarity and comfort in knowing that, oh, I'm less than this person. It's feeling less than somebody else. That is how you can tell. So if you're around somebody like that and you're like, and they're talking and doing the thing, or channeling for you, or talking to spirits, or whatever it is that they're doing that you think is wow, right? The minute you think, wow, they're amazing, take 100 steps back, okay? Because it is wow and amazing. You have exactly the same power. It just may look different. It may come out differently. You just take a few steps back and you're like, okay, let me reassess this. I'm like, wow, and I'm going to put this person on a pedestal, and now they're going to be my source. They're going to be divinity for me, okay? You take 100 steps back and you breathe it out. You're like, okay, so they're better than me. I'm putting myself less. There, I'm 3D again, right? My teacher knows more, my boss knows more, my parents know more, the same thing. So it's like trying to identify with the logic, because now you still don't know intuition. It's coming in different ways. Some people are seeing angels, some people are seeing guides, some people are hearing, but they don't know how to manage it, right? So they look for somebody, a guru, to help them out, which is very fine. You just have to choose the right person. So you're going to take a step back and you're going to be like, okay, I'm looking for someone that I could put on a pedestal that I look up to. But when I look up to them, I kind of have a little bit of fear. I can't find my voice. I trust them completely. I don't even have an opinion, really. Okay. Then you stop. You completely stop, because the person that you're choosing, first of all, that's stuff that you need to work on internally, which naturally will in your spiritual awakening. You don't have to like dig deep to figure it out. It'll just naturally come. But this is the process in which you trust. You start to trust yourself. So logically, you're going to have to use what you've grown to trust first before going into your intuition. You're going to have to learn to trust the logic first. So use the logic. It's your tool. You know, you've fed it for years. The society, the culture has fed your logic. I said your logic is more important. Fine. I'm going to use it for my benefit now. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is bad. I'm going to use it for my benefit. How do I feel around this person? Do I feel less of myself? Yes. Do I feel like they know so much more than me? Yes. Does it intimidate me? Yes. Do I feel like they're quite bossy, or they only want it their way? Yes. Okay. Am I comfortable around this? Probably yes. I'm going to leave. I'm going to take a few steps back, right? I can still listen to them. I can still listen to what they say, and I can only take parts of it. See, the key is taking parts of stuff. You don't take an entire being with everything they say and make them a god, right? Because in all the times I have learned and studied from so many people, books, actual workshops, creators, whatever it is, you don't take them as a whole, because at the end of the day, everyone has ego, right? You take the parts you love from that person, the parts that resonate with you, and you throw the rest. When you do that, you can't have them on a pedestal. They are not divinity anymore, right? They become an equal. So they have more information in this. What other information do I have? Oh, I'm pretty good at this. It may have nothing to do with spirituality, but it's information you have. So you try to balance yourself out, because this spiritual industry is taking people in, okay? It's taking them in right at the crook of their fear. So I will have to relate to narcissism right now. This is really very important, because we do live in a world where there are a lot of toxic, unstable, narcissistic beings on the planet. And there's nothing wrong with saying it, and there's nothing wrong with admitting it. It means nothing, right? It's just, okay, they're there. What do I do about this, right? Will I be a prey for them again? No. What do we do? So this is the industry right now, okay? When you're just looking at any narcissistic relationship, any narcissistic interaction, what do narcissists prey on? Prey on people's fears, right? They get to know all your fears. And when they know your fears, then what do? They can manipulate and gaslight you so easily using your fears, not using their own. They're not inventing the wheel. They're looking at you. They're like, oh, typical shame, guilt, blah, blah. Okay, let's use all these fears to have them be part of my team, my group, right? You may believe and think that this only happens whenever it's a cult. That's not the way it's being done today. They're still cultish. You can't define that it is culty. Why? Because what they do is they still use the fear base to reel you in. So now you're afraid. You're afraid of this new world. You don't know who you are. You're sort of scared. You're losing your friends. You're losing family members. You're losing your job. You're losing money. You're losing, I don't know, a million things. So now where are you? You are in a ball of fear. Narcissists, the best. You are like, they didn't have to do anything to get you there. So when you are afraid, you're their perfect target. And not meaning target as in they're like, no, but you're easy. When any of us are in fear-based, it's easy for our thoughts to take over, the mean one. It's easy for anyone who's a manipulator to take over, because we're ready for anyone to help us out, to save us from ourselves, right? So it's called the spiritual narcissism. And what's interesting about the industry that's taking place, there are so many of them out there. So many of them out there. Sorry. And they come in many colors and shapes and forms. The only person who can identify that is you, by how you feel around them. Okay. So remember, if you're feeling really comfortable, like this is home and this is security, be like, great. I just need to take it a little further and understand myself a little deeper with my logical mind. Do I feel less of myself? Do I feel that they know more? Have I put them on a pedestal? Do I believe everything they say and negate everything that just kind of is, because my intuition is growing, right? And something inside of me is like, but I'm like ignoring it because I don't know that that's intuition. Because even they are not teaching you that that's intuition. They're teaching you intuition, how the program looks like. This is how I do it, therefore that's how you're going to do it. And if you don't do it the way I do it, then I'm the one who's going to give you all my fabulousness. Once they have you hooked, and this is the trick of the trade, once they have you hooked, okay, and they become your prophet, your messenger, your whatever it is that your brain has told you this person is, you have no more space to find yourself. You're locked into this crazy hellhole, okay? And you keep doing it for years and years. It is a narcissistic relationship. So, have I answered the question, Mel?
Yes. So, yeah, I was really getting into that. So, really, what I'm getting out of this is to really know the difference. It really is coming back to how you feel when you are in that kind of fragile space where you do need guidance. Like, that's why I came to you, because I'm like, I keep finding myself looping. I'm looping around these things. I can't seem to get out of it. And then I'd come to you. And what I loved is it's like you'd keep bringing me back home to self. And that's how it felt safe. Every time I was done having a conversation or a session with you, I felt okay, like I could love myself more. I felt more inner peace. I felt like, because it's like I came to you feeling like, oh, I have this icky feeling, and you just guided me back home to self. I'm like, well, why are you feeling that? That's because it's a lie. That's a lie. That's why you're feeling so much pain, is because you've been lying to yourself. And so you should just, anytime you have conversations with maybe these people that you're trusting or person, to come back. How do I feel around them? Do I feel more love for myself? Are they guiding me back to myself? Or are they just telling me what to do? That's their suggestion and their ideas. If so, they're just pushing their beliefs on you. And you got to be very aware of that and have your eyes and your heart and your body open, right? Your heart open to feeling like, oh, all it is like, you need to do this. They're telling you what to do versus bringing you back to self and reminding you, does this feel good to you? Asking you the questions that you answer yourself. Is that kind of what you got to do?
Yeah, that is the idea. The idea, I love how you said that. Yes, that's the idea of it, is where you always refer back to self, even if the self is your mental mind for now, because you're unaware of how to hear that. So another trick of the trade to even like really hone it in, it's good to work in your shadow. It's great to work on your limiting beliefs. I mean, my whole thing is limiting beliefs and shadow work, right? This is where it comes in, but it's freedom to find your truth. It's great to work in that department. However, what's interesting is you can't live there, right? So sometimes with these people, they need you to live there so that you can continue to be their clients. You can continue to take these workshops. They'll say like, oh, now we're going to the next level. It really isn't the next level. It's still the same exact level. And I've noticed that a lot of people take so many courses, like they start to overlap. So you've got this teaching and this teaching and this teaching, and a 10-week course here and a 3-month thing and a year and I don't know what, and it doesn't matter. You can do all that. I just suggest you take it one course at a time, because the overlapping will get you totally messed up in the head, and you won't be free. You will not be free of anything, neither your inner child, neither your shadow work, none of that. You are not going to be free of it, because we can't live there. We're not going into our shadow to live in the shadow and do all these million ceremonies to get rid of the darkness in the shadow. The fact that you want to get rid of it, then there's something wrong with the teaching. So there's something wrong with if the teaching is there to get rid of your shadow, to release your trauma, and they don't, they'll use all this language. But if it continues to focus on regressing you back to your childhood, regressing you back to the trauma, let's take you back a million years and da 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 da. If they're constantly doing that, then all they're doing is they're digging a deeper hole, right? They're digging up more information. So where are you living? You're constantly living in the darkness. You're constantly living in the shadow because you want to find the answer. Oh, but what happened as a child? Why did this happen? How can I get over dad? How can I get over what mom did? Yeah, I was molested. I was abused. And you're constantly in that energy. What are you doing? You're constantly repeating the same thing over and over again. You're reliving it. Now, the thing is, they want you to relive it because now you get hooked onto them. You can't leave them. They're your saviors. That's narcissism, right? Your saviors are the same. They're the trauma. They're the ones that abuse you and then save you, abuse you and save you, abuse you and save you. That is how it actually looks like. So this is really important to pay attention to because there's so much of it happening. Happened to me. How many years has it been now? 4 years ago. Okay. It happened to me 4 years ago. So as much as I know, it happened to me 4 years ago. And this is when it became a really big deal. And I believe it happened to me so that I can, the veil of like this whole spiritual thing could be dropped. And this was at the beginning of where the world is spiritually awakening, at the beginning of the pandemic, where everyone was starting to wake up, where this happened to me. And I was like, oh my God, this must be happening worldwide, right? That I'm being duped into believing that I don't know best for me. And it was a very well-known space. And it was a thing for women and doing it just for women and bringing women power back. And this whole entire thing of trying to bring women's power back, but not humans' powers back, to me, there's something wrong there. Even in that, like, it's like, Mel, I really want people to wake up to truth, and going from one program to the next is going to continue having us be completely brainwashed like zombies just because, oh, different language, different way, it looks different, but it's the same exact thing. We're still saying, we're still denouncing men and making women better, or victimizing women for men. It's the same exact thing. Like in narcissism, it's the same thing. It's like demonizing narcissists and glorifying the victims. But it's not about glorifying the victims and demonizing the narcissist. Not one has to be bad for the other to be good. It's just, this is a narcissist. I deserve better. It's coming back to that space of, I deserve better. I don't have to demonize them. I don't even have to give them a title. I don't have to say they're narcissists for me to find my peace. It's just, I don't feel good around this person. And sometimes it's as simple as, I don't feel good around this person. I thought a spiritual awakening would feel better. I don't feel good around this person. There was another point that kept floating in and floating out, but I can't hold it. And so it just doesn't feel like I can say it right now. I can't seem to see it clearly. Whew, so yeah, there's a lot to talk about with the spiritual dimension, a lot for everyone to watch out, a lot to take care of yourselves, because once we stop falling for this kind of manipulation of losing our power to that degree, once we start to know and recognize what intuition feels like in our own body and coming always back home to you, and that little spot is where you're supposed to learn that. So you're easy prey, very easy, right? I was an easy prey, right? Very easy prey. And it's like, how can everybody be more awake here? Use all the tools you've learned in the 3D, but use them now for your benefit here, right? Don't be like, oh, well, logically, I don't feel comfortable with that person, so now that means my intuition is saying, be comfortable. No, it doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that at all. It's use this to open this up. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's why I always say, in my book, Discover the Gifts of Your Disempowered Self, there are 4 pillars. And the first most important pillar in your awakening is clarity. Where does clarity come from? It comes from the mind. It's having a clear mind, right? To have a clear mind, you can just drop into the second pillar, which is you're going to actually start to trust yourself. So you fall into this one, right? And then after that, after you start to trust yourself, the fourth pillar is now I can connect with me, earth, divinity, my guides, whatever it is. But now there's a connection. Okay? I can't have a connection if I can't trust myself. And I can't trust myself if my logic is not clear, if I can't make sense of things. Okay? So when you first fall into that pit where now you're having a spiritual awakening, it still has to make sense. Okay? Your safety has to make sense. So whatever you've learned is something good. You don't get rid of it. You keep it until you are now slowly transitioning to how can I trust myself so I can connect to myself, I can connect to divinity back in a new way, in the true way, and then fulfillment, which is the fourth pillar. Fulfillment finds its way to you. Mel?
That's beautiful. Yeah. It just made me realize, like, I feel like where the world's at is it's so much in our head and our mind and our ego that's running the show. And really where, if we really want to shift in the world, it's going to be shifting down to our heart and trusting ourselves and our intuition and letting our mind support the heart as the heart leads. Wouldn't you think that kind of goes with it? But it is a process. But again, it is that scary process because the truth is we have outsourced our power. We have trust the logic, the mind, the to-do list, the checklist, the program that's so in that ego mind programming that we need space. We need space in the middle with ourselves. But like you said, I think we're so comfortable. We're so reliant. We're so used to relying on other people of like, ooh, find the guru, go learn from them, go do what they say, follow everyone else's programs. But where some beauty can happen in the world is by us creating our own program, coming to ourselves, trusting ourselves. But it's that space in between. We need to give ourselves time and space to breathe and feel and actually feel what's mine, what's my energy and what's other people's energy. Who am I? What do I get to create? Who am like versus just relying on everyone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
We need to work together.
No, it's so true what you're saying, sweetheart, because you know, when we're going to get into this thing, the most important thing is like, okay, I'm not getting into this. I'm not putting this person on a pedestal. This person, I don't need to call them my guru, my teacher, the one who knows better, you know, and all this stuff and who knows the ceremonies. Fine. If you can bring yourself to a place, everyone, if you can bring yourself to a place where any course you choose to take, any therapist, spiritual teacher, whatever, book you read, instead of saying this is to heal me, to help me through my journey, to release me so I can break free and all that stuff, if you can change that language and instead tell yourself, I am doing this to learn something new. I am adding information to my life, but it's not what's going to save me. When you change that way of thinking, the attitude completely changes. So now I will take a course with this person, right? I will sign up for this school. I will give my power to someone. Won't really end up giving. You can't give your power once you change the language. So I have nothing to fix. I have nothing to change about me. I want to learn. So what happens when I want to learn? The attitude changes. Why? Because no one's on a pedestal now, right? So me and Mel right now are learning YouTube, right? Do we have YouTube as our God? No, right? Unless we put YouTube as the know-it-all, the YouTube, like nobody in the world is like as important as this. If we give this like person like, oh, this is the know-it-all person, we give all our power to this person, we won't use our brain at all, right? But if we're learning YouTube, we're an equal now. So anything you're learning, if you want to learn about shadow work, go right ahead, learn it, but not to fix yourself. It is so important. And I don't know why I'm speaking so aggressively, but okay, it's really important. It's never to fix yourself. Okay. It's never to release yourself of fear. It's never because you're feeling alone and lonely. Okay. If you're feeling alone and lonely, change it to, I want to learn something. I feel like having a community around me, and I'm going to check different communities and see what resonates, right? You can from 10 people, you could resonate with one. Hey, great, I met one. You've got one person from this community. You don't have to take it all in. You don't have to like everybody. You don't have to resonate with everybody. So this is the things you're going to say to self from this day forth when you're choosing a teacher, a guru, a therapist, a healer of any kind with the spiritual awakening. I am learning something new because there's nothing wrong with me to fix or discover. That will show up on its own, right? As I detox on my own, Source is taking care of me. It's not another human being. Source is waking me up. This awakening wasn't your decision. It happens, right? Your soul, your higher self is the one that decided and said, at this age, at this time, in this place, we are going to awaken. Okay? So trust that your higher self is taking care of you, not another human being, not another human being. Divinity. This is how you can start to trust self. Even if you can't trust divinity, you're scared of God, you had your God fears, call it the universe, call it energy, call it your higher self, call it whatever you like. The most important thing to do is say, I want to learn this new information because I want to learn it. I want to learn about astrology. I want to learn about shadow. I want to learn about shamanic ceremonies. I want to learn. I'm on this planet to learn, but not because I need to be fixed, not because I'm looking to be happy, not because I'm looking to feel more joyous, not because I'm looking to know how to manifest or make the money or anything like that. Cut these cords off. This is how people get in. This is how manipulators, narcissistic, spiritual people get in. Cut these cords off and just simply, I am learning and I'm going to allow divinity to guide me or my higher self for now, because a lot of people who leave religion don't feel comfortable with God and divinity. So I'm going to talk to higher self the same way higher self woke me up, the same way higher self will put me in all the right places at the right time, but I give no one my power. I hope that was helpful because I've never heard it like that through me. And it was so aggressive. It's like, it's as if it just feels like I'm channeling this information. Like it's really like we need to stop this nonsense. Like this nonsense needs to stop. All I'm seeing is like, there's no anger in the other dimension. It isn't even anger. It's very much of like let's stop this and start something new. Like this needs to end. This kind of paradigm, this fear of who you are, this not trusting yourself, this needing to give your power to any other human being, this needs to stop because it's going to take so much longer to spiritually awaken if you're going to go through all these pockets all day long, thinking you're broken, there's something wrong with you, you're unlovable, all this is going to be hell, right? And they're trying to get humanity right now in a space where the only reason you're having a spiritual awakening is so that you can trust yourself, right? Not because you're broken to fix it, not that there's anything wrong with you. That's not the reason you're having a spiritual awakening. It isn't for you to wake up one day and be like, oh my God, I have all these beliefs. I have inner child trauma. I have this, I have that. Let me remember all the shit that I went through in my childhood so I can fix it now. That's not why you're having a spiritual awakening. That is not the purpose of it. That is not the point of it. All this industry is actually heading towards that. That is 3D thinking. That's not where you're heading. The only reason we are all having a spiritual awakening is to trust ourselves, is to come back home to self-trust, to be able to hear truth. That's all it is. You're not broken. Okay.
I love it. I love that because, and I love that it was a little bit more like, we've got to get this. Like, you guys, okay, we've been stuck in this for just too long. It's just getting old. It really is. Like the same stories, the same thing. It's like we keep replacing one little box to one, maybe a slightly bigger, but it's just a different one. We're just outsourcing our power, giving it to somebody else, different label, different name, and we keep being duped by it. Like I was too. I'm talking for myself, so I get it. I felt it. I experienced it. And I'm starting to see the difference now, which feels good. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting in alignment where my heart and my mind are actually like working together versus my mind being like, screw you, heart. I got it figured out. We don't need you. Go aside. I got this because I've learned from the world and the world says it got this. So we got this, and it really is just, it's the same thing. It's the same story. And it's time to just stop believing it And that's what I love the way that you talk, is because it's not saying, oh, come to me, I have everything. And it's not from fear. It's like, oh, it's almost like this relief, it's this relief of, oh, okay. Like you said, you're like, there's nothing wrong with you. We're just going to add some value. We're going to add some sprinkles. We're going to learn. We're going to learn because it's fun to learn, and just own who you are. Like, you've helped me do that, own who I am, of like, okay, I can be an anxious person, or I can work quick. And I was like, I need to slow down. I need to be slower. Why can't I meditate this, that? And it was like, why do you need to do that? And I love that you're just kind of like, why? There's nothing to fix. You're not broken. Like, if you want to learn those things for fun, cool. But why are you putting all this pressure on yourself? Why are you comparing yourself to this person? Like, it really does feel like truth, the way that you speak. It's coming back to truth of like, there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. And it's just me figuring out, what's my divinity? How do I work? How do I think? How do I move? What do I feel? And just like be okay with it, and like think it's cool. Like, it's time to realize that, like, oh, we're pretty dang cool. And I can learn new things because I want to, because I'm getting bored of maybe in my own way, and I want to learn something new, and see it as an exciting thing and as a fun thing. And that just feels, that feels good to me. That feels like truth to me. And it's not fear-based. That's how I know this is I can keep moving in this direction. So I love it.
It does feel lighter. It feels a lot lighter to be like, I'm not doing this so I can be happy. Oh, I must be happy. Like, it feels a lot lighter. Like, oh, I just want to learn. Like, oh, there's so much to learn on this planet. It's insane. It's insane. Like, it's an endless, like, it's like all the Akashic records are here, right? Like, we are the Akashic records ourselves, right? So I just wanted to make sure that if everybody else, like, if what would be really interesting, if you are interested in the whole religion thing and spirituality, I would really highly suggest for you guys to go to Awaken to one of our episodes, episode number 5, which is Awaken to the Distinction Between Religion and Spirituality. And we're going to leave that in the link at the bottom. So that will really also give you a deeper idea between spirituality and religion, and also the same thing, that leap of jump. So remember at the beginning where Mel was saying she had left religion and then she went into something else? So that video will really help also explain at a deeper level more of this stuff, if this is interesting for you, so you can be more free. And Mel, I don't know, are we complete for now?
Everything that you want to talk about on this one. I think this is great. I'm good. Okay. All right. Thank you for listening today, you guys. Feel free to put that thumbs up. We would love that, to get some connection with you guys. So hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you guys want to get new episodes that come out. We're going to have some really great conversations every single week. You're going to want to hear it. We're going to go deep. We're going to dive deep and have just stimulating conversations, which I know I love. So hit that subscribe button. We are offering a freebie in the description. It's 11 essential questions for self-discovery. So grab that, pick that up. Just click on that link in the description. And then we also have a link to our Buy Me a Coffee account, where we have really great products. We have ebooks and e-guides with really great information about specific topics, and lots of darling jewelry. I just uploaded a ton new earrings for those of you that like jewelry. These are super cute. I've got these hoop ones that are just gorgeous. So we've got silver, gold, all sorts of fun stuff, earrings, bracelets, necklaces. Go check it out. That will help support us to keep funding this passion project and doing what we love, creating great content for you all. And then you'll get something beautiful for yourself. And we do have a question that we want to ask you guys. We love interaction in the comments. So the question today is, just comment below if you have had a similar experience where you trusted someone else for spiritual guidance. And you can just put yes or no, and you can share your experience if you'd like. So thank you for connecting with us. And again, check out this link. We're going to put it right here to watch that other episode that's going to relate to this one, going into more details about the spirituality and religion. So go check it out. Lots of great info there. We'll see you on the next episode.